Welcome to Awkward Chats, where we take you on a hilarious journey behind the scenes of our travel adventures, and it can get a little awkward.
I'm Nacy.
And I'm Gary.
And together, we make up Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, our YouTube channel, where we go on fun adventures all across the U.S. But that wasn't enough. We wanted a place where we could talk about the real behind the scenes that goes into producing our channel.
Awkward Chats is your ticket to the real, unfiltered side of our travel adventures and a place where we can start your awkward conversations.
So buckle up and get ready for an adventure full of laughter, mishaps, and of course, awkward topics.
You can find new episodes every month, everywhere you get your podcast. This is Awkward Chats. Welcome back
to Awkward Chats.
So this month, we're going to talk about a little bit about April Fool's Day. We'll talk about Donate Life Month, something near and dear to Nacy's heart. We're going to talk about being homeless. And in case you didn't know, we are about to be homeless. And by the time
it's not what you think, but it is what you think.
And by the time this podcast comes out, we will be homeless. And then some excitement over a new state that we're going to be discovering. So let's start with just a little bit of catching up about what we've been up to.
Yeah,
so I want to talk about Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah, so other than work for me and just kind of preparing for the move, like we've been talking about for the last couple months, we've been playing Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah.
I downloaded it last year, and it just kind of sat on my Switch for a hot minute, and I couldn't sleep one night a couple weeks ago. And I was like, you know what? Let me just play this. So I stayed up, and I played the video game for till the next morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, come see this game that I started. And Gary joined me in on the game playing, and yeah.
So for you who haven't played it yet, it's a collection game, basically. You do certain tasks. It's kind of like like Animal Crossing meets Disney with a little bit of clickbait video.
It's
like
like
phone games in there.
adventure/task related.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like, go do all these things for so-and-so, but to do all those things, you also have to do these things.
Yep.
And we've been playing it for about 3 weeks. And we've beat the main story of the main game, but we're still unlocking some characters. And it's a grind. The game is a grind.
Well, it's got that sort of pay-to-play thing where you have to wait like long periods of time to do things. So you definitely have that involved.
I think too, I think if you have somebody else that you can play with, it definitely helps with the grind.
Yeah. So you get a lot of different characters. There's Simba, Nala, Woody and Buzz, etc., Stitch. I mean, there's so many Disney characters. Sorry about that. We are selling stuff, as you know, if you're following us on Lost Girl in Tomorrowland on YouTube. And we had to pause to get rid of a couple items. So anyways, back to our April Fool's fun and Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah, so Dreamlight Valley has a lot of different Disney characters in it. It's got a lot of newer characters like Moana and Mirabelle from Encanto.
If that would be my biggest complaint. I imagine the Star movie will be in there soon, even though no one went to see it. They'll try to push it through that game.
Wally is in it, which is cute. There's all the Frozen characters. You got Elsa, Anna, Sven, Kristoff. No, Sven's on it. Just Kristoff and Olaf. Little Mermaid. You've got Ursula, Ariel, and Eric. Beauty and the Beast, which I think is just Belle and Beast. Mm-hmm. And Monsters Inc. just opened up. We haven't unlocked it yet. It's unlocked, but we haven't.
Yeah.
And all the a lot of villains. There's
Jack Skellington's there. He was a Halloween update apparently. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really cool things. I enjoy it. Just kind of like the grind is a little bit much sometimes. Definitely loses me at times with the grind. But I really do enjoy the game and being able to interact with like the characters and have them follow you around. Mm-hmm. So it's fun. And it's not easier, the best game, but it's fun.
It's easier when you have somebody to kind of help share
some
of the stuff. So like I'll play for a while and then he'll play for a while and we just kind of hand it back and forth, and whoever's not playing is usually trying to look up how to do something for the other person so we can figure it out.
Because it has like recipes and stuff, which is combinations of things. So there's a lot of little stuff that should be easier than it is, and it's a little more difficult.
Some things are obscure, and you're like, how, where, what?
But I enjoy it. My favorite character is Wally.
Wally.
So he's just cute. He goes around, he shows his plant to things and like compares it. So
He's
it's
cute.
fun. Apparently to get Eevee though, you have to do the paid update, but we haven't decided if we're actually going to do that yet.
Yeah, it's another $30.
Yeah.
Which maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
We have a big adventure ahead of us, and
We're not going to have much time to play video games.
Gonna have I mean, we'll probably bring our Switches because they're easy to travel with.
Yeah, and being homeless, we'll be able to have that as like a portable on the go because we'll have access to outlets.
Which we're going to talk about. We're going to get to that.
We're going to talk about that later in the podcast.
So that's kind of what we've been up to outside of trying to sell stuff, which that's what we were doing today.
Yes, it's been fun, and as all of you know, that's not the best thing.
Let's get started, and let's start moving into some of this main content for you guys to munch on.
So I looked up April Fool's stories, and I was looking up sort of the top April Fool's jokes. So for me, my first real sort of interaction, obviously in school, they did like cute little April Fool's jokes when I was a young kid, but there was nothing serious. My biggest sort of April Fool's stuff was I was a part of a jbody.org, which is a car type. And so they always had April Fool's jokes. And that was probably my biggest confrontation with stuff because they'd be like, oh, this car is going to be released. And then like the next day be like, oh, that was an April Fool's joke. But because it's on the internet, it lives forever. And so you don't know unless you look. So nowadays, I just actually avoid the internet on April 1st, just entirely.
Yeah, I could see that. I think the thing that I enjoy on April Fool's Day is usually Cards Against Humanity does something.
Yeah.
On April Fool's Day. But I agree. It's best to just don't anything somebody posts. If you're close friends with them and it sounds like something weird, call them. But just, I don't believe anything that's on the internet.
So I did some research, found a few of the highest, I guess, biggest April Fool's pranks. So I'm going to share them. Nacy hasn't heard them yet. So
I have not heard anything. So he's going to tell me and you all about these stories that he found. So
apparently in 1965, the BBC purported to conduct a trial of a new technology allowing transmission of odor over the airwaves to all viewers. Many viewers reportedly contacted the BBC to report the trial's success. In 2007, the BBC website repeated an online version of the hoax, as did Google in 2013 as a tribute.
Fascinating.
So that's one of the biggest ones. That's fascinating, right? So you think they're probably just getting into color and they're trying to tell people we're going to do smell-o-vision. What do you think?
There's no way to fact check that. Just a bunch of people in their houses sniffing their screens.
What do you think they were smelling? So there is obviously the what's it called effect, the placebo effect, right? So part of that was probably that, and the placebo effect, for those that don't know, is basically says that if I tell you something's like, say, a vitamin, and you take it, just thinking that it's a vitamin will sometimes give the reactions of taking a vitamin. Is basically what the placebo effect says.
I mean, I don't know if they were saying like, oh, we're going to give you Sense of Wood. If they had like one of those wood encased TVs.
Oh, I thought we were watching a porno and you're like, Sense of Wood.
Somebody's head's in the gutter today and it's not me. But yeah, like they maybe like were sniffing their wood on their TV. He's going to go off on this wood. Sniffing the wood.
No,
I mean, unless they did something like completely.
Well, what if they were like bubble gum? Like, I smell bubble gum.
I mean,
maybe they're having a stroke.
They say toast. If you smell burnt toast,
yeah,
and there's no burnt toast, you best get checked.
Hopefully, toast wasn't the line that they were going for. Can you imagine though? Let's pretend like we could actually make smell-o-vision. I have to be honest. Some of the videos that we watch with like food, I would be interested to see what they smell like. But then there's the negative side of stinky, and I wouldn't want to smell that. So.
I think the closest thing to anything smell-o-vision I've done is those 4D theaters where they puff in scents like Soren or Figment with the skunk. And then obviously like Pandora. They puff in smells and you're watching something. I think that's the closest thing to anything I've done. But even that, it doesn't feel 100% genuine. You still smell the manufactured scent of what it is, except for the oranges. The oranges, I think, smell like oranges because maybe it's just an easy one to bottle.
Maybe.
Right.
I definitely will agree, though. A lot of the smells are kind of difficult.
So what's your next one?
All right, so another one. I actually have a question. So they claim that this is one of the biggest April Fool's jokes that happened in 1997.
Okay.
I would argue that that's not actually. But Wheel of Fortune host Patch Sajak and then Jeopardy host Alex Trebek, both of them are dead, by the way, I believe, switched places. So basically, Alex Trebek was hosting Wheel of Fortune, Pat Sajak was hosting Jeopardy. Is that an April Fool's joke? Right? That's what I felt too. I mean it's ranked up there, but
I
it's kind of
think
weird.
people who are set in their ways and have a routine probably turned it on and was like, what's this? But I think for the average person who doesn't necessarily watch it was probably like, okay. But people, I think, who watched those shows religiously and had a routine, and at that point, they're probably older people.
Yeah, but don't they have guest host? So, I mean, it would just be a guest host. Like, I mean, during like...
I think they probably just went like, what is this?
Yeah, but during
what
like
is this?
summer times and stuff, they always have like guest hosts. So I don't understand. It's kind of an April Fool's joke. I'm not hating on them.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it is really.
But it just doesn't sound like a real April Fool's joke. I found one that you might like though.
Okay.
So in 2008, again the BBC bringing it apparently. You were good at Doctor Who a while ago. Why'd you sell to Disney, BBC, if you're listening? BBC reported on a newly discovered colony of flying penguins. An elaborate video segment was even produced featuring Terry Jones. Not sure who Terry Jones is, but it's highlighted, so it must be important. Walking with the penguins in Antarctica and following their flight to the Amazon rainforest.
Okay,
That's cute.
It's cute. As a penguin lover, though, I think I would be a little bit skeptical. I would be like, okay. But it's a cute little story. At least, nobody was hurt in the making of this joke, and nobody was really bothered in the making of this joke. So I think those make good April Fool's Day jokes when nobody's hurt or harmed.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit at the end about what makes an April Fool's joke. I agree. I think those are the best if no one's actually harmed by it and you're not forced to do like some dumb thing. All right. The last one is one of the biggest ones that I found on a ton of the different services. So on April 1st, 1906, the Chicago Tribune and several other newspapers, I don't know why they didn't actually say the other ones, printed an elaborate 2-page feature article detailing the recent invasion of Chicago by hordes of prehistoric monsters.
Wow.
Illustrated with a series of 8 doctored photographs purporting to show Tyrannosaurus, Dilophosaurus, and I'm hoping I say that right, and other dinosaurs wreaking havoc throughout the metropolis.
Okay, so 1906. Cameras not really a thing fully during that time.
Yes.
So did they just take a picture with like these little fake dinosaurs in the shot? Because computer editing, definitely not a thing back then. I think the printing press only came around in the mid 1800s, maybe 17.
I don't know. I didn't actually look into the pictures. That's probably should have done a little bit of that, huh, to see what they actually look like.
I mean, I just imagine 1906, like they're just like.
They could have used the.
Is that where they got the idea for Godzilla?
The size image. Well, Godzilla's from Japan, not from the United States. They could have used that size spectrum that they did in like Elf and stuff, where it looks like the little dinosaur's bigger and stuff like that.
I guess,
Forced
but I feel like
perspective.
forced perspective wasn't even really a thing till like another 20 years.
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I think it's funny. It kind of reminds me of like the War of the Worlds, where they supposedly had the broadcast. It wasn't April Fool's Day though. And he said that the world was being taken over and all these people freak out and stuff. Yeah. I kind of like think that that's kind of what happened there with the, oh my gosh, dinosaurs.
Yeah. I just...
simpler time.
This is interesting. It's just...
I don't really care for the boring like Google stuff anymore. Like it's always like, oh, Google's putting this or Google's putting that. Apparently, Gmail was released in April. And they thought that was an April Fool's joke at the time. I actually remember this. Because sadly I was alive at this time, but it was an April Fool's joke because it had so much storage. So people thought that Gmail was a April Fool's joke because it had so much storage.
Yeah, and he was one of the first people to get a Gmail account.
He was.
I got it through him inviting me to
Yep.
Gmail.
Yep.
Now anybody can get a Gmail.
Yep. At first it was invite only.
Yeah, Facebook used to be the same too. It was like you
Well,
had
Facebook used to be college only.
yeah, you had to have a college email
Yep.
in order to get one. So I didn't get one until I went to St. Leo.
Mm-hmm.
And you had been on it. And Facebook was made for networking, not for what it
Well,
is today.
Facebook was made to have sex. Facebook was made to get the booty into college. His whole purpose.
Was it?
Yes. Mark Zuckerberg's whole purpose in making it was to get a lot of attractive women to get him to get access to them. So instead of having to look for them on campus, they're all in one place, and he was able to get access to attractive women. Like that was the whole
Interesting.
plan for it. Yeah.
Was that your plan?
No, I mean, it sort of morphed, and that's why it was college based because he only wanted college women and men on there. So it was more
Mostly women.
yeah, mostly obviously. Well, I don't know. Maybe he swings both ways. I don't know about Mark, but yeah.
I had
Just
a
college.
MySpace. I did have a MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace was more for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. You had Tom and he was your friend.
Tom, good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
He's been my friend for like 25 years now.
He pops in occasionally. He offered to buy. He offered to help Elon Musk with Twitter, make it better at one point.
I mean,
It's like I can come out of retirement,
he probably needs all the help he can get.
probably.
But yeah, MySpace is now like this weird scammy thing. Like I remember I was like, let me log into MySpace one more time and pull off the pictures that I
Yeah.
have on there because I don't have them anywhere else. And I remember trying to get in and I was like, this is like the website wasn't working right. And I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, I don't even know
It's
what's left of it.
I don't think it's maintained anymore.
Yeah, well,
I
he
don't-
doesn't own it. He retired, so I don't know who even
That's fascinating.
owns the rights to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the craziness of April Fools.
I don't really play April Fool's jokes on people.
Yeah, no one. You never done an April
no.
Fool's joke, huh?
Not really. I didn't. I'm not good at thinking up things like that. Just my brain doesn't work that way. Like I'm a good like if you say something to me, I'll come back with a comeback 25 minutes later. But I'm not good in the moment, and it's not like I was very mischievous. I guess to a degree where I was trying to be deceiving.
Yeah,
Because deceiving is frowned upon in the church. That's
Deceiving is
Satan.
that's Satan. That's
I
path
do
of the devil.
know. I do feel like the church sometimes did April Fool's stuff if it happened to line up on a Sunday. I feel like they've done stupid stuff or like they would post stuff, but it usually was along the lines of something fake, like
Jesus has returned.
there's gonna be a potluck today, or like something silly like that, and then joke's on you, there's no potluck.
Well, technically, if people brought food, then it becomes a potluck. So you just made it happen out of nowhere.
Oh, but I think they didn't tell anybody till day of, kind of a thing.
Still, but if still people brought stuff, you made a potluck.
I don't
though.
think anybody brought anything. They were just saying like we're gonna cater dinner or something for everyone.
Oh no, that's extra. That's
Yeah.
extra. That's extra slap in the face. Like, come
Yeah.
on, I'm okay to dinner. Then you get there like April Fools, and it's like, screw you. Is there any food? Like, what are we doing here?
Church is always synonymous with food, man. My dad used to cook for our church a lot. I used to eat a lot at church too. I knew where all the good stuff was. This is why you make friends with the pastor's kid. And you know all the ins and outs of what's happening in the church. You know all the drama. You know who to avoid. You know where all the secret hiding spots are so you can make out with your boyfriend. I mean, there's a lot of pluses to being friends with the pastor's kid.
So back to April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
So
no, I never
did it, huh? Okay.
Did you? Did you ever?
I'm not much of a jokester, like trickster
Yeah.
person, so that's just not really my personality.
It's kind of mean, I feel like.
I feel like we've talked about a little bit. We should talk about what makes a good April Fool's prank. But yes, I agree. I think a lot of it's mean for no reason. Like the world's bad enough.
Yeah.
Why I need to make it worse? Like why would I want to make it worse?
I
Make you
think-
feel
I
worse?
think
Like
the best April Fool's joke somebody could be is they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you $500," and they show up and they're like, "Here's 1,000." April Fools. Like I mean, those are good April Fool's Day, I guess.
positives, yeah.
Yeah,
I get
but
that.
I know for a lot of people will make fake pregnancy announcements.
Yes, that was
And to a degree, I understand why it upsets people
Oh, I don't care either way. I just think
I
it's
don't,
dumb.
yeah,
Like,
I don't
just
care either way,
Okay.
but I understand how it could be a sensitive topic for some people, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that, but that is one of the biggest April Fool's things that I see on a regular now is like the fake pregnancies or the fake marriages
Or fake deaths.
yeah,
Fake deaths
I
are a
don't see
big
too many of
thing.
those, but that's horrible. Don't do a fake death. The ramifications of that, just
Yeah.
not a good thing.
So anything that is a fake major life announcement,
Yeah.
unless you're like, I'm moving abroad and I'm going to be homeless. April Fools. That's not our April Fool's joke this year. We'll get to that. We teasing this, but, I think to be a good joke, nobody has to be harmed.
Yes.
And that means like put under a stress.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're put under distress by like, hey, you didn't want your wife, girlfriend to be knocked up because either one, you're not ready for kids, or two, you talked about not having kids and you ain't got no money. You're like, oh God, how am I going to deal with this? That's kind of mean,
Yeah.
like to put your significant other in that box of like, what are we going to do? It's a joke. It's not real. Like, what the fuck? Obviously like the whole, like you said, fake marriages, fake deaths, fake we're having a kid.
Yes,
like those are all
have really
just
increased lately with social media.
those are all poo poo.
The thing I hate too, as of late, is like I used to just be able to stay off April 1st, wouldn't even bother going online, and then April 2nd you'd come and most of it would be gone. Now with social media and how like
just lives
Instagram and
forever.
stuff, yeah, it constantly like brings it back up and it's like, is this fake? Oh, it's on April 1st. Yep, it's fake. So now
Yeah.
you got to look at the publishing date. But if they're sponsoring it, sometimes it doesn't give you the publishing date. So then
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
Like I know certain brands will like be like, oh, we're releasing this limited edition food or drink, and you're like, oh, that sounds cool.
yeah, that's what the J Body would do. It'd be like, oh, there's a sports edition of this car coming out or something, and it would be like, no, there's not.
Yeah, so I can see like those are not necessarily harmful, but in a degree, sometimes I have found myself being like, that sounds cool. And then I click on the article and I look into it. I'm like, God damn it.
We got you. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let
I think this year they're going to be like,
never gonna turn
the government's going to
around
be like,
and hurt you.
we're forgiving 100% of student loans. I see that happening.
Oh, I will hold them legally accountable if the government says it on a legal thing. You can hold them. That's the thing with social media. If they can come to your house and arrest you for what you say on social media, even when it's totally made up, then when they say something that's totally made up, then it's true too. Like it can't be both ways, folks. Like you can't. That's the thing. That door's been open. It's just no one's pursued that door any further.
Yeah, I'm waiting for people to be like, I told my kids we were going to Disney.
Oh, I would hate them.
It's
Can
like
you-
the same people who steal their kids' Halloween candy.
Oh gosh, I can't.
Like that's fucked up too. Why do you do that to your kids?
I don't know. You can share it, sure, but I don't know about the taking it away from them. I don't get that at all.
I'm a huge fan of like the parent tax or the aunt tax. Like, hey, I need 5 pieces of your candy. The rest is yours.
Well, I mean, what we would do as kids, totally off topic here, but what we would do as kids is we basically just take the candies, we just pour them all in a big bowl, and then the whole house would share in them for a month or so until we got rid of all the candies.
My parents confiscated it
we
after
did.
like 24 hours.
No.
It was like you basically had 24 hours of like no holds bar. Like you could gorge yourself. Not that I did. And then after 24 hours, it disappeared. I don't know how or
They
who.
threw it away. Yeah, they threw it away.
Oh no, my mom took it and hid it somewhere for her secret stash.
That's such a, great parents. Yeah, again, we would just put them all in a bowl, and then people would just eat
Same
out
thing
of it
with
until they're
Christmas
gone.
and Easter, because we would get candy for Christmas and Easter. It was like, here you go, here's your candy. Oh. And then middle of the night, you just see my dad walking around eating fucking shit. And you're like, hey, where'd you get that? Oh.
No comprende.
Like, my dad was the biggest culprit. Just eating random shit. And he'd be
See,
like,
you
I
weren't
gotta
smart enough. I would follow him to the stash, and then
I eventually did find my mom's stash. I mean, I got her back, I think, a few times because she would buy these like cheesecake bars and they'd be in the fridge and I would eat them, but I would put the wrapper back into the box so it looked like the box was full. Like I would shape it exactly how it was,
so you did do April Fool's jokes.
just not on April Fools.
Yes. Well, that's what makes it April Fool's. April Fool's. It's February. April Fool's. Gotcha. Never gonna
I think
give
that was probably
you
the
up.
most
Never
mischievous
gonna
I
let
was.
you down. Never gonna take.
And the best part was when she would open it, she'd be like, "Who ate all my cheesecake?" Dad.
Papa.
We'd blame it on my dad all the time. It would be us, but we'd blame it on my dad because
Couldn't understand what you're saying.
But yeah, so as far as playing a joke on April Fool's, never did it.
Yeah, I don't think I have, honestly. I mean, yeah. I used to put stickers on my coworker's truck all the time, but there was probably April 1st. It was Beat 101, 1055 The Beat, and it was like this rap station that just came into Cape Coral at the time. And he was like a huge country guy, so I'd put the stickers on the back of his truck, and then he'd peel the sticker off, be like, "Oh, your nephew must be messing with you," and then I put another sticker on the back of his truck. I got a whole thing because I went to an event, and they were giving away for free, and I took like this huge stack of the stickers, and I literally would just use them on his truck nonstop.
See, he's a little bit of a trickster, but he's not malicious. He just likes, it's the slow, methodical, psychological game that he plays. Gary's in psychological warfare.
So that's probably the closest to an April Fool's joke I have.
But yeah, again, like we say, what makes a good April Fool's joke is nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, people have fun. Both people have fun.
Yeah, it's
like
not
if both
one
people
person.
are come away laughing, then it's not fun.
Yeah, which I don't really know how many jokes both people come away laughing, because usually it's like a
what if your dream is to be pied in the face and they pie you in the face for April Fool's Day? Both again. I always wanted to be pied in the face if you're going to ask, so that's why.
Oh.
As a kid, yeah. I was always like, that'd be so cool to be pied in the face.
Do you still want to get pied in the face? Is that still a dream of yours? 'Cause I can make it
I have
happen.
gotten pie in my face, so
It's like I was going to say.
there's a whole game.
I always wanted to be in a food fight.
See?
Like literal people grabbing
Right.
fistfuls of food.
I know what a food fight is.
And chucking them at each other.
Yes.
Like I had this dream that somewhere along between elementary school and senior year of high school, I was going to have a food fight in my cafeteria because every show you watch that takes place in a school,
Yes.
at some point,
especially in the 90s.
they have a food fight. And I was like,
especially in the 90s.
do I instigate it? Like how
Food fight!
can we-
No one does anything.
how can we make this happen? So yeah,
See?
I always wanted to be in a food fight.
That would be a perfect April Fool's Day joke because
They
both
did
people would
do
laugh.
I do remember, I was not involved with this directly and I was very sad about it, but when I was in like 5th, 6th grade, I wasn't quite old enough to go to the youth group on Wednesday nights. I think I was still like 1 year out. I had to go to my missionettes, which is like Christian Girl Scouts.
Boy,
And
did you sell cookies?
no,
Girl Scout cookies.
no, we did color matching.
Well, if you don't sell cookies, I don't have any interest in you beyond that.
And then we learned about, it was called the STAR program. So it was Susanna, Tabitha, Anna, and Ruth. Those are 4 biblical women from the Bible. And we would learn about them and we would do little projects, like making little soap things. Like we decorated soap. We did like this color matching thing where we learned if we were a winter or a summer. So like warmer colors, cooler colors. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you've already bored me.
Yeah.
I haven't even gone to a meeting
I
yet.
mean, that's the teachings of the Bible is women are to be at home. But anywho, so what they were doing with the youth group that night was they were doing messy twister, which was they took a bunch of food products and they put it on the twister board. It smelled awful. But I was like, I want to do it so bad. And then when I finally did get into youth group, I'm like, hey, when are we doing messy twister? They never did it again. Probably because things slipped into places they probably weren't supposed to slip into.
Remember, it's just soaking as long as you don't move back and forth.
Yeah, soaking wasn't a thing in my Christian church. It's apparently a Mormon thing. I mean, the Christians probably have heard about it by now, so there's probably...
Yeah, just because you weren't doing it doesn't mean it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
First,
Remember, anal sex is the sex that God can't see.
okay. So, anyways, I don't know what that has to do with April Fool's jokes, but that's how Nacy rolls.
That's how Nacy sees it.
So something interesting I find too is our next topic is about Donate Life Month. And the one thing I'd like to say too, before we go too in depth into that, it's so weird how every day of the year has like 50 different commemorative things.
Celebrations, yeah.
And then months are becoming the same thing now. It's like because Donate Life Month, and then it's also another month too. It's like Autism Awareness Month or something too.
Probably, yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but something normally falls on Donate Life Month, and I believe it's something with autism. So it's like you got these two, or maybe it was ALS, but you have these two like competing things that fall in the same month, and you're just like, I don't understand, what month is it?
Yeah. November is Diabetes Awareness Month, but it's also like a couple other things too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Donate Life Month. Let's talk a little bit about that. I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. Just talking about kind of like the excessive amount of days and months that we have now. But Donate Life Month.
So
What
if
is
you
Donate Life
guys
Month?
know, if you guys know us and our history and what I do, I work in the field of donation. I work on the donor side, so I work with donors and their families, and I medically manage them in the ICU setting. And now I do that. I used to do that as staff. I was like, paid W-2 worker, staffed at an OPO, which is an organ procurement organization. And I now travel as a contractor, and I do it as an independent contractor. So, which is why we started a business in the last 2 years. And we've just been kind of traveling a lot more since I started doing this. But I've been working in the field of donation for 6 years now, which is crazy to think that I've been doing this for 6 years. I started quite literally at the bottom and worked my way to where I'm at now.
At the bottom now. I'm here.
And I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but it was definitely a interesting road. Little late there, but he got it.
Still working on my buttons.
Yeah, we don't use the buttons as much. Maybe in our future studio.
Yeah, when I actually have better setup. But so, Donate Life.
Yeah, so every April is Donate Life Month, and basically it's a month where we celebrate our donors, because without donors we wouldn't have transplant, especially when it comes to organ, whether it's a deceased donor, which is where a majority of your organs come from outside of kidneys and partial livers, or you can have a living donor. And that's when people are a match for maybe somebody or even a complete stranger, and they offer to give a kidney, or they may give like a partial liver, because liver is the only organ that can regrow on its own. Fun fact. So we spend that month celebrating our donors. It's also a huge push to get people to register as organ donors, because in America, in case you're outside the US, we are a opt-in system, not an opt-out, whereas like the UK and a lot of other countries are an opt-out system, which means you're automatically registered, and if you don't want to be a donor, you have to take yourself off the list. So there's a couple of different laws in the US regarding donation, but during this month they do lots of celebrations. There's Donate Life Day, which I think is April 15th, or is it 14th?
I don't know.
It's mid-April.
So I've pulled up, it's from Donate Life America, which is separate from other Donate Lives, in case you're wondering. But it's last updated for 2023. I can tell you what the 2023 dates were, but they don't have anything for 2024 yet, and it's almost
weird.
April. Yeah,
That's weird.
It's really weird. But like, so at the April 5th last year was Living Donor Day, which is what you talk about if they give a kidney or they give part of their liver. Then you have Blue and Green Spirit Week, which was the 8th through 14th. And basically all you do is wear blue and green to promote it. So you can talk about what donation is and how all of that works.
And a lot of times they'll do that at like the DMV or at hospitals. Like they'll encourage the hospital staff to wear blue and green. People within the OPO itself, the organ procurement organization, will wear blue and green as like a, hey, ask me why I'm wearing blue and green. Oh, it's because it's Donate Life Month.
You can also reach out if you are an individual that is touched by donation. You can reach out to your local OPO or even the transplant center where you get transplant if that's local, and you can work with them to do green and blue days at your work. So it doesn't have to be in an OPO. You could just be a tax collector. You could be a insurance company, whatever. When I worked for Orlando, we had like a insurance company. Westgate would do it. The big timeshare people, they would do a Blue and Green Day. Basically, it's just to raise awareness and kind of knowledge about
I
donation.
think another thing that some organ procurement organizations do during Donate Life Month is announce who's going to the Rose Bowl the next year, because
They
it
used
takes
to.
time.
They used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
Not everybody does it. I think some OPOs do it. I don't know.
Well, it's changed so much. So it used to be the Rose Bowl, which is the game that happens on January 1st. Had a huge Donate Life float, but it was for all of America. Now it's only for California's OPO. So it becomes this kind of interesting quagmire. I don't know if they're still doing
It's
stuff
now
like
the
that.
One Legacy Donate Life float. So it's interesting. This year was the first year that it was the One Legacy Donate Life float. So I actually, ironically, have been working with that organization, and it's not been a bad experience. So I'm eager to learn more. The more I go out there, just to kind of pick brains of the people who work there as to like what is happening, because it was a wish of mine to volunteer for the float at some point, because I feel like as somebody who works with donors directly, I think it's another interesting way to kind of give back and honor donors, because I think that it's huge. Like donors do save lives like every day. And that is a part of my job that sometimes when you're in the muck of it, you forget. Because my job can be chaotic. It can be very stressful. I don't sleep when I'm on, sometimes for days. I do 24-hour shifts. I do 18-hour shifts with like 3 hours of sleep. I do a lot of driving. There's a lot of work that goes into it on my side of things. So being able to give back in a different way, I think, is always nice. Another thing they do at some OPOs is they'll have their Remembrance Day during Donate Life Month. Some choose not to have it during April, though.
So a Remembrance Day is if you lost a loved one and they donated their organs when they lost their life. I don't know. They probably word it better than that. Basically, it's a get together. Some do time frames, like in the last few years. Some do overall forever. You can come back, but basically, it's a get together, and you kind of mourn the loss, but you also talk about the people who are there now, and it's sort of it's sort of like a funeral, but it's a little bit happier, but it's still sort of on that somber side.
Yeah, and every OPO does something different. Some places do picnics. Some places do runs. So like Our Legacy, which is in Orlando, usually does their Great to Donate race sometime around.
It's not Our Legacy's Great to Donate race.
It's
That's
called
a third party.
It's a third party.
Yeah, third party. It's called Great to Donate.
And so
And
usually
they team
that
up
race,
with Our Legacy.
yeah, that race usually takes place sometime in April.
I
I
think
know
they,
the last couple years they changed
yeah,
it.
I think they moved it to like October because the thing is the Kidney Foundation does a run, and because there's a kidney day sometimes in Donate Life Month, and then there's also another big run at the time too. So I think they've moved it in Orlando. That's the thing that I was talking about earlier. There's so many days with so many
Yeah.
things now. So,
Yeah.
but last year they have the Green and Blue Day is a day. So they have a Spirit Week, and then they have an actual day where everyone's supposed to wear green and blue. And then they try to like light up city lights too.
Yeah,
for that
which
day.
they did in Vegas a couple years ago. They haven't done it again since. Well, no, I think they might have done it last year just at a few places. But if you guys go to our YouTube channel, Lost Girl in Tomorrowland, I do think we do have a video showing the lights
On Fremont Street.
on Fremont Street and the Donate Life that they did. They ended up changing the lights on the High Roller, over at the Paris Tower, Fremont Street, and I want to say one other location that they were able to change the color of the lights to,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But it also happened to fall, I think, on the day before or the day after of like Lights Out Day, Earth Day.
Yes. It's Earth Day.
Yeah. So Vegas was supposed to go dark for Earth Day, so I think they had to change it up a day or two. Like it was a logistical thing.
Again, I'll talk about how many days there are.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so they do a lot of different celebrations to bring awareness to donation.
Well, and then the last one from last year, at least, the last week of April, they had National Pediatric Transplant Week, which talks about the littlest donors and sort of their remembrance, because that's a whole different level of donation.
Yeah, I can honestly say I've not worked on a lot of PEDS cases in my career. PEDS cases are pretty rare, and they should be, if you think about it. I mean, our littlest people shouldn't be the people that we have the most death in a category. It does happen, and when it does happen, there are unique circumstances that go into moving forward with that patient as a donor. And pediatric patients are just like a whole other game, just medically, how you treat them. And then also dealing with other dynamics because, families grieving somebody that they should not be burying. And then there's also, if depending on the situation of the death, there's a lot of family dynamics that you have to navigate. There's a lot of hospital dynamics that you have to navigate because ped units, if you know anything about pediatric units, they are very protective of their littlest patients, and rightfully so. As a former peds nurse, I totally get it. But it's its own challenge for sure. But there is a high need in pediatrics for donors because those kids need transplants. Kids that are born with like congenital heart defects, kids that are born with lung disorders. By the time they're 18, they might have had 3 different major transplant surgeries just because of how their body works. And kudos to my transplant nurses that work with peds because that is I think that's probably one of the most difficult fields of medicine outside of pediatric oncology. So, but yeah.
Which would be cancer, just for you don't know what oncology is. Yeah. So that's Donate Life Month. Near and dear to Nacy's heart for sure.
Gary's also worked for Donate Life Florida. Mm-hmm. He's done some stuff with Donate Life America.
Yep. I was the social media chair for Donate Life Florida for a good year and worked on a social media campaign with Donate Life America as well at the time. So,
and you learn a lot. You really learn a lot when you learn the PR side of organizations, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get to see the money in, the money out, where they spend the money, all that stuff's important. Yep.
So I love the field that I'm in. It's people always tell me all the time when I tell them what I do, they're either blown away and they're like, wow, how do you do it? Or they're terrified and think I'm going to take their organs. It goes one way or the other.
Yeah.
Or I occasionally meet people. I would say probably in the last 6 months, I've probably met about 4 people who were recipients. And that was kind of cool. Or they knew somebody who was a recipient, like their husband or sister. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Like, how are they doing? And 9 times out of 10, they say that they're doing great, which is something I don't get to see a lot of on my side.
Yeah.
I see the donor and I see the organs go, but I don't ever really get a follow-up as to where they went and how that person is doing, which is a complaint I hear from a lot of people that I work with in the industry is like, we never really get the good stuff to know, like, this case was challenging. It broke a lot of hearts. Like, it's near and dear to us. I want to know that the effort that I put in, there was a positive outcome somewhere down the road, just so that I know, like, that everything ended up okay. Because all you see is death and dying and sadness and grief, and it can be a lot sometimes. So I do have my days where I come home and I boohoo cry. I mean, it just depends on the case and the day. Usually it's certain cases that I boohoo cry on.
Yeah. But I think Donate Life tries to be more of a celebration of what happened. So I think that's kind of the opportunity to see the positive pieces that come out of donation and also connect all those like bubbles where it's like, a person passed away, but they saved 6 or 7 lives. Yeah. And these are the 6 or 7 lives they've saved and what they've been up to. And so I definitely think that's what Donate Life is. First goal is obviously raise awareness, and so people are more aware of it. And then the second goal is to sort of connect those pieces for the people that work there.
Now, if I will put this plug in here because it's Donate Life Month. So if you are somebody who's interested in being a registered donor, you can either do it when you renew your driver's license. I believe in most states you can log into the DMV's website where you would go to renew. And I believe you can still check that box even after. Or on the flip side, if you're somebody who wants to take yourself off the registry, that's also how you do it. But now Apple, I don't know if Android phones do this, but I do know Apple products do this. If you go into the health app, you can register to be on the national registry, which is different from your state registry. A lot of people think that it's the same, but it is not the same thing. They are 2 separate things. Now they both count, but just know,
Yeah, so there's registerme.org, which is what she's talking about, which is the national registry. So you can go see that at registerme.org. That's also if you go into the health app in your phone, you can register to be a donor. That's where that registers it too. The best way to do it for your state, though, because there's different state laws across different states. And if you're really wanting to be a donor, just look up Donate Life in your state, and they'll typically walk you through the process of being added. So you don't have to wait for your driver's license. But the most important thing that Nacy didn't talk about is you need to talk with your family about it. So
Yes.
whoever is your significant other, or if you're not married, your parents, you need to have a conversation with them. And that's the hardest part, is talk about what you want in case you get it. You know, like Kenny with his letter, and he didn't want to be on TV if he became a vegetable. You got to have those hard conversations so that you don't have to search for some kind of thing if it happens, or they're not stuck making a decision on their own, which is a bad time. Because like Nacy says, it's sort of like something that happens. You're going to wake up today and something's going to happen to you, and then that's when you meet her. It's not like you have these planned out things. It's not like cancer or something that takes a while. It's a pretty sudden thing that makes you an organ donor.
And that is the biggest, I would say that's the biggest thing that comes up in the donation process with families is they're like, we never talked about it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what they would want to do. And it doesn't have to be a sad or depressing conversation. It can be as easy as like, hey, I signed up at the DMV because I want to be a donor. I just want to make you aware of that, and I hope that you support my wishes. It can be as simple as that. Or if you feel like you need to have that heartfelt conversation with your family to be like, hey, are you okay if I do this? You can sit down and have that like heartfelt conversation. Either way you do it, just making sure that somebody knows what your wishes are is the most important part. For sure.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts when I was working in the field was going to events and having that safe space for people to come and talk about those things. Like people would come with their kids and they'd obviously pick up like a squeeze ball or something like that. But then they'd be like, you know, this is what happens. These are my wishes. You don't have to feel the same way as me, but you know, this is what I'd want if something was to happen to me. So it kind of opens that door to have that conversation.
Yeah, and you know, I've talked about it, I believe, on our YouTube channel, Lost Girl in Tomorrowland. I think I did a video 2 years ago for Donate Life Month where I kind of described the process
We did a sit down, yeah.
of donation. So if you guys want a little bit more information, feel free to kind of reference that video. And I've always thought about putting it on TikTok, but TikTok's a weird place to put information about your career on because people get nasty and they try to like report you, and I just don't want that in my life. So I'm always open for like good, honest questions, and I'll give you an honest answer, just as I give people that I'm working with every day like an honest answer as to what it is. But if you want a little bit more reference as to what the donor process looks like, feel free to reference that video because I do go pretty in depth into that process and what it looks like from start to finish.
From start to finish.
There's even some videos sprinkled around where I'm like day in my life.
Yeah.
I think on my TikTok I have 2 or 3 day in my life videos from a few years ago.
And then we also have some like give back videos that we did for CDT and Albany. So there's a couple professional videos that you can look at with their staff actually talking about what they do and thanking a hospital for it. So if you wanted to learn more about that. And when John Oliver's episode was coming out, his staff was clearly watching it because those videos shot up in the views.
Yeah, it was weird. And that was another big thing that was like in the media last year.
It was only a few months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it was either January. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but John Oliver did a huge piece on OPOs, organ procurement organizations, which is the side that I work for, and transplant centers. And not going to give you guys all the beef and the drama, but there is a lot of drama happening in the legislative arena, if you want to call it, about organ procurement organizations, how they get paid, and just transplant centers. And don't get me wrong, there's always going to be a need. And there's always going to be a waiting list. It's how do we make the list shorter? How do we get people easier access without running over people and taking people? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we make this system work? And there's a lot of finger pointing. Transplant centers want to point at OPOs and say they're not doing enough donors. OPOs are like, we're doing the donors, but you're not taking the organs. So there's a lot of drama. And actually, if you go on LinkedIn, there's a lot of drama happening on LinkedIn with people posting their personal opinions as to how they feel that the world should go. And unfortunately, like I said, like you have to kind of be careful when you post your opinions about things because it could negatively reflect you in the future. So I tend to refrain from posting things on social media about my personal opinions because my personal opinions unfortunately do not matter. Congress does not care. But if you guys are interested in legislative stuff, you can look up some bills that are going on. UNOS, which is the United Network for Organ Sharing, also does a lot of public forums where you can put in your public opinion about certain things that are coming down the pipeline in terms of how organs are utilized or anything in that realm. So unos.org is also another resource that you can check out if you're interested in looking into legislative policy changes and voicing your opinion to a third-party organization that kind of is the middleman between transplant centers and OPOs. That's probably the best place that I've seen lately where it actually gives a space for people to talk.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so happy Donate Life Month.
Donate Life Month. So I gave you a little bit of history and hopefully you'll celebrate. This should come out before Blue and Green Day was last year, but I don't know what the date is this year. As again, I went to their website. They still haven't updated for 2024. I don't know why. That seems like a miscalculation on their part.
Yeah, so happy Donate Life Month.
Happy Donate Life Month. So the next thing we're going to talk about is being homeless.
Homeless. Okay, so
why are we homeless, Nicey?
well, let's what is the definition of homeless?
To not have a home.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. So our schedule is a little bit full, and only because I got a couple of contracts kind of right at the cusp, but I needed them. We need work. And we move out of our apartment April 20th. Like that's the day we hand our keys in. We'll probably be out before then, but that's the day we hand over our keys and we do the walkthrough. We don't have another place physically lined up yet because one, we're not 100% sure when and where we want to be. Like we mentioned in previous podcasts, we're leaning very heavily towards the Orlando area because we do love Orlando and we want to continue our Disney content. And there's a lot of stuff that we want to do in Florida. It's just kind of, it still feels like home for us. California obviously also feels like home for us, but there's limited, I guess, stuff when it comes to Disney out there. It costs more, so there's more things at play. Now, because my contracts kind of line up a little bit weird at the end of April, we are going basically to Northern California for about 10 days. And then we have 5 days off. We're going to stay in Northern California. And then I'm going to do another 7 days in Northern California. And then we're going to fly back to Las Vegas, pick up our car. We'll probably stay the night, one night, maybe two, just depends. And then we're going to hit the road and we're going to drive east. Now, as of right now, I'm thinking we may go to my father-in-law's in the North Georgia mountains and spend a couple weeks there just so we can have a little bit of downtime after working insane hours for the end of March and April. We haven't asked him yet, although I'm pretty sure he'll say yes. Like he always tells me, I will never say no to you. He's the best father-in-law I could ever ask for. He is amazing. I just have to put it on his radar. But again, it's not our house. We would just be staying with him, yep. Essentially. And then we still technically don't have a place in Orlando. So I was thinking sometime around the 1st of June, making our way to Orlando and starting to look for a place. But again, we're just kind of nomading it. And we haven't really decided if we want to take a couple trips before we sign a lease, because when you sign a lease, you're committing to monthly rent. You're committing to your utilities, so your electric and your gas and your water, so you're committing to that. And that's a decent amount of money. Now, while we could still afford to travel and have a physical place, we're getting rid of all our furniture. So if we move into a place, we kind of have to commit to staying there for a little bit and furnishing that place, and that's money. So we won't really get an opportunity to travel again probably for another 6 months in terms of like really getting back out there and doing stuff. So we have the opportunity where we can just work some contracts and then take a couple weeks off and spend it in Hawaii for 2 weeks or go see Field of Dreams for a week.
Iowa. It's in Iowa.
I said Iowa.
No, you said Field of Dreams. That's all you said.
Oh, well. We can go to Austin. I've been wanting to go to Austin.
See the owls.
We can, there's so many places that we can go because we could just Airbnb it or get a hotel, because if you book the hotel, your utilities are included. You can usually get housekeeping, and it's interesting living out of your suitcase. But essentially, if you don't have a permanent residence somewhere in the United States, you're technically homeless.
Yeah. And I mean, after this podcast today, we ripped out the studio.
Yeah.
So everything except for the desk will probably be taken care of today. And the only reason why the desk is still here is because I still need to edit. So I can't take everything apart. That's the only reason why the desk will even still be here. I'll even be switching this laptop that I'm filming on now will be out, and I'll switch to my other laptop because it's faster. So it's like a lot of this stuff is going to be in boxes. I mean, right now we live out of 2 boxes for clothes because our dressers are
gone.
Yep.
Yeah. And we cleaned out our closets.
And we cleaned out closets. Yeah, it's all done.
Which was really nice. It was nice to purge.
Right. It always is nice to get rid of stuff because we don't want to be hoarders. Every other YouTuber we watch becomes a hoarder. And this is no judgment to them. It's just every time we watch a YouTuber, like, here's our garage, and it's just stacked with stuff.
It's so easy. I can see
it's
it.
So
it's so easy to do. Because when you travel places, if you're a travel vlogger like we are, it's easy to be like, oh, let me get this or let me get that. Like our fridge, we have so many magnets, but thankfully magnets travel fairly easily. Yep. It's not a big thing. The one thing I will say that I definitely hoard, though, I will admit fully to this. I think it's 2 things. 1, Funkos. I mean, I've definitely rolled back.
Yeah, we definitely are rolling that back, but yes.
But Funkos, I enjoy collecting different Funkos, and it has to be something I find interesting. We don't keep them in their boxes. Sorry, we just don't. We want them out. We want to enjoy them. And then the other thing I think I hoard is makeup and beauty products, but I'm doing better about that. I definitely did a huge purge this move. I got all of my makeup and most of my beauty products down to 1 box. All that's left is hair care, but I don't think I'm going to take all the hair products with me because I don't use half of them. And some of them, they don't work. You buy it, you don't like it, it doesn't work, but you hold on to it. So I don't think we're going to be taking a whole lot of that stuff. But yeah, so we don't want to be hoarders.
We don't want to be hoarders, but we will be homeless.
Yeah, but we lived out of our suitcase for 3 months last year.
Well, yeah, and we lived at a hotel for a good 3 to 6 months when we first moved to Las Vegas. And at this point, last year, over 2/3 of the year we were in hotels.
Yeah.
So we were we talked about it last year, and we talked about it on the podcast as well as on our YouTube channel, Lost Girl in Tomorrowland. But just that Vegas at times didn't feel like home. It just felt like another place we went to. When
we came back, it was nice to come back to. But it wasn't like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah, exactly. And for those watching, we don't have anything against Las Vegas. It's a nice place. Yeah. It's a little expensive, and it's getting more expensive, and they definitely do try to nickel and dime everything out of you. But other than that, it's a really nice place to live. Yeah,
I look back on the time here as good. I don't really have anything bad to say about our time here. We did a lot of different things. We went to California. We got to kind of dip our toe into California. We got to go to Disneyland,
Arizona,
Seattle, Memphis,
South Carolina extensively. Yeah. Florida, Jacksonville we went to.
So, we've done so much since we've moved out here, and part of it is thanks to my career. It's definitely allowed us to do more things because we're not tied to a brick and mortar office where I have to be physically in town, or I can't leave my DSA certain days of the week. I get to make my own schedule. So I think deep down we're both kind of like, if we can do this, why don't we do this? Yeah. It's in our lap. We can financially fund it, and we just drive the little Volti, or possibly rent a car. We're not sure. Little Volti. Volti's got 145,000 miles on her, so she getting up there.
Yeah, she's trucking along though. Most of them are on electric lately. So.
Yeah, we drive her mostly on electric here in Vegas. Every so often we go far enough that we have to use a little bit of gas, but we're not driving more than 20 miles a day on the gas engine. So, but yeah, so we're not really sure exactly where we're going to make home base. We might make it Gary's dad's house, or we might make it Orlando unofficial. We're not sure.
Yeah.
Eventually we will land in Orlando. We're just not sure about the timing. Summer is a great time to travel because snow is not an issue.
Yes.
Especially if we want to. There's a lavender festival in Squim, Washington.
Yeah.
Which a friend of ours lives just outside of there, and I would love to go there for a few days. Because the only time I've seen Seattle is in the cold.
Yeah, the very, very cold.
The cold, rainy. And I wasn't a fan, but we haven't seen our friend in probably like 3 or 4 years, since right before we left Orlando, actually. I think that was the last time we saw her.
Yeah, she came to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Lavender Festival, I mean, that sounds amazing. I love lavender.
I've never seen lavender.
I've never seen a lavender field.
Well, you have. You just saw it in the winter.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. But Seattle's, it's not hard to get to. We can navigate it fairly easily.
Yeah, I mean, other than just the downtown area of Seattle, the other space is pretty chill.
So so we're kind of excited, and that probably brings us into our next topic.
Yeah, but we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back in a minute. So for those on YouTube just joining us, welcome. We've already talked about some April Fool's jokes that made history, Donate Life Month, and our excitement about being homeless.
Yeah, so if you guys want to get the nitty gritty on our homeless situation,
check out anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever, and look for Awkward Chats.
So we're going to segment into this next segment. I'm going to segment into the segment. But we are excited about some future trips. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I've got a lot of contracts in California coming up, and currently I'm going to LA a bunch, and they kind of like have us drive around a lot. I work pretty much the whole time when I'm in LA, but it's nice like towards the end of the contract or like at the beginning of the contract to try and like get out, go do something, find something within the city. It's hard to do when I'm working every day. I just don't get a lot of downtime on this contract, but I enjoy the work I do. So not really a huge complaint on that side. But after we move out, like I was mentioning before, we're going to basically Sacramento. And we'll be in the greater Sacramento area and wherever they send me, because they do cover like Northern California, the group that I'm going to work with. So I'll get to see a lot of that. I don't know how much downtime I'm going to get there, but we'll see. And then when that contract is over, we basically have 5 days where I don't have anything, but we don't have a house. Kind of goes back to the whole homeless thing. We don't have a house to go back to. So we're like, how about we just stay? Because it doesn't make sense to fly somewhere. That's just an added cost. I'm already going to be back in the San Francisco area after it's over. And yes, I said San Francisco, but I was going to be in Sacramento. They kind of cover both areas. And so we're going to do 5 days in San Francisco. And we're going to explore that because San Francisco has been on our list
for a while now.
And I know I've heard lots of things about crime in San Francisco. And there's not a whole lot of stuff on YouTube about like food and anything like that. But there are several things that I do want to see. Like I want to go to Alcatraz. I want to see the Golden Gate Bridge. And then I just somehow found out that the Walt Disney Family Museum is in San Francisco.
Yeah, and Pier 39 as well.
Yeah, Fisherman's Wharf, which is the inspiration for Pixar, and Pixar is also in San Francisco, but we don't know
anybody. Yeah,
we can't get a tour.
If you know somebody at Pixar, let us know. We'd be happy to go on the tour, but
yeah,
we don't know anybody.
If you know anybody, please, by all means, we would love to take a tour of Pixar.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get there. But yeah, we're gonna spend a couple days, explore a couple of those places, and then also take a day or two to just kind of recoup. And those will be coming out on the channel soon enough. And then I go back for like another 7 days, and then we're gonna fly back to Vegas, figure out where we go from there. That
Yep.
part we haven't figured out yet.
We haven't fully figured it out yet. I'm excited. Like, we thought about last year renting like a Airbnb or even hoteling it in like LA or something and just staying there for like a week, seeing if we like living in a big city. Because we've never really lived in a downtown section of a big city. We've lived in big cities. We've just never lived in that downtown area. So we wanted to give it a try. We don't have pets anymore, which is typically the deterrent that we had in the past to keep us away from the downtown. But we wanted to try it. And I think this is an opportunity to see if we even like it. And we
Yeah.
might not, but
Yeah.
we might.
And I honestly, I don't mind LA. Now, I'm going to be honest. LA traffic, that's different.
Yeah, well, it's one of the busiest cities on the planet.
It's not terribly much different than Atlanta traffic. I do think people in LA, please don't come at me, don't like to use their turn signals. They freeball it all over the freeway, and they do some crazy shit there. So like motorcycles can go between cars. That's nerve-wracking. You got to be like, oh God, here goes. Like, you know, you just have to be aware of your surroundings there. I think that's the biggest thing. And then always just give yourself enough time to get where you need to go, which can be daunting. A place that should only take you about 45 minutes to get to takes you 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which, when my sister lived in LA, she used to tell me all the time. She's like, it takes me 2 hours to go from here to just go to Target. And I'm like, that's a commitment.
That is a commitment, yeah.
At that point, I think I would just have everything delivered to my apartment and never go to a store again.
Yeah, we're kind of interested in living in that downtown, trying to live without a car, basically. And like go to the grocery store without a car, live without a car, just for a little bit, just to see what it's like. That's it. So that's kind of our focus if we try this. Now, again, we talked about it even before moving out of here. We talked about doing it. And whether it be LA, we talked about Seattle. We talked about
downtown Atlanta.
Talked about downtown Atlanta. Yeah, so it's like a big city.
I don't think New York City I would ever try.
No, we didn't. It was actually sparked by our New York City trip, though, because we were like, we could do this, because we had been sort of hesitant to try it for a long time because we didn't want to live like that. Plus, with animals, it's hard. It's very difficult with animals. Yeah.
So now we've got this opportunity where we have the ability to travel financially, resource-wise. It's just how long do we want to do it? I mean, I think if we tried it for the summer, that might be a fun summer, a legit summer road trips. And like, because Route 66 is on my list of things I want to drive.
Well, I was going to talk about that too. So that's kind of the one, was living downtown. But then there's a bunch of other places. Like we want to go and see the big redwoods, the Sequoia, do that drive up to Washington. We'd
Highway
like to do
1,
that.
I think is what it's called.
Yeah, and then Route 66. We'd also like to do completely Route 66, which goes from Chicago to basically the pier in California. Really want to do that one too. So there's 2 that we want to do, but we have to get a car that we'd like to do that trip in. Yeah. So that's kind of been our hesitancy. We like Volti, but Volti doesn't like the hills.
No.
So she would not do well in the Sequoia.
Cold. Yeah. It has to be the perfect temperature.
Yeah.
And the perfect road conditions.
She would not do well on the Sequoia trip because there's a lot of mountains there. So I don't think that would be.
So we've been talking about, well, do we leave the car at like my father-in-law's house and then we just fly and rent a car? Which is always an option. We did that for our road trip in New York. We flew into Buffalo, rented a car in Buffalo, and took it back when we went to the airport in New York City. Yeah. It costs a little bit more money to do that, but honestly, it was a fantastic option. It was big enough for 4 people with 5 suitcases. Everybody was comfortable, had plenty of legroom, and if something happens to it, it's a rental. Yeah. I'm not putting the miles on Volti. Which, as she gets older, which she's pretty old, but as she gets older in mileage, you start to think about those things more, I think. Yeah. Because we want to preserve her for as long as possible. Now, she's a Gen 1 Volt. 2012. She's over 10 years old. She's 14. No, she's 12. She's 12. 12 years old. And the Gen 1s have reportedly, from people who have been driving Gen 1s, have been driving them upwards past 300, 500,000 miles without having to replace the main battery. Now, they've had to do other maintenance to it, but in terms of the core of what makes that car run, it's had a good track record. Now, the later generations do not have as good of a track record, which is why I went with the older one versus the newer one. Which, honestly, it's really funny. We made a video about buying that car. It's on the YouTube channel.
It is. Yep. The whole experience is on the YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
so you guys can check out day one of trying to learn a electric vehicle, where to charge it. Like it was a whole learning curve for us.
Which is funny because the East Coast, especially Florida, was better prepared for an
Yeah.
electric vehicle than we found at the West Coast at all.
Yeah.
Like Vegas has nothing. California has a little bit, but their infrastructure is so underdeveloped in comparison to Florida, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. So we're not going to probably take Volti unless it's probably local trips. Like if we stay with my father-in-law, we were talking about doing goats on the roof, like we've been trying to do.
Yeah, we've been there 3 times now, and it's always closed.
And just kind of doing some of the little nichey stuff that we've been wanting to do. Plus, if there's a third place that feels like home, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good. Like it's a good place to recharge and just kind of salt of the earth, like get back to nature.
Yeah.
It's peaceful. It's quiet. It's a slower pace of life. The hardest part is finding food from restaurants. If you're willing to cook your own food, it's not bad.
Yes.
But
yes, very true.
it's beautiful in April, May. Like that's typically the time you can have the windows open and have that fresh breeze as the flowers are blooming. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful time to be in the mountains. So who knows?
Enjoy it before the snow.
But if you guys have any thoughts out there in YouTube land, or if you're listening on the podcast, where we should land, by
Let
all
us know.
means, leave us a comment.
Yeah, we'd like to hear your thoughts. Like, where should we go?
Yeah. Also, if you have an idea of a place we should check out for this potential legit summer playlist, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out. But if we get enough ideas, maybe we'll make it happen.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited.
also, I would like to throw this out there. If you guys watch our YouTube channel or you listen to us on the podcast, we have collected postcards from basically everywhere we have been in the last 4 years. 4 years, okay? That stack is huge. And we would love to actually start sending these out. So we're going to get a P.O. box situation set up during this move because we got to have a place for the mail to go. And once we get that P.O. box, we're going to definitely post it to our website, which is Lost Girl Productions.
LostGirlandTomorrowland.com.
We're going to post it to the website. But if you guys are interested, by all means, it'll be on our Instagram. We'll put it on the website once we actually officially get it there. And we want to get you guys like some stickers, postcards.
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, the website is in the description.
So, yeah. So we'd love to show some of this love.
Right back to you.
Because we've been getting a lot of love. A lot of hate, too, which I'm fine with. But we've been getting a lot of love lately. And it's been interesting having more people engage with our content and leaving us comments outside of like our DAS video or like a random video.
Mm-hmm.
People have just been really kind.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
So we want to kind of give back a little bit outside of a video, and that's the best way I can think of to do it. So leave us a comment and be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, leave us a comment. Check out our website and definitely keep an eye on it because in the next month or so, we'll definitely have a P.O. box up there.
Yeah.
So that ends our podcast for the day.
Yeah.
If you're on YouTube and you like the video, please hit that thumbs up
Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
and ring that notification bell so you get notified when we do at least 3 videos a week.
And we will definitely come and get you guys for the next one.
Ain't that the truth, baby Ruth? Bye, everybody.
Bye.